Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and small children, and people of all shapes and sizes. It's the Catchin with Carter show and fam show, I should say, on YouTube right now, and it will be on more platforms coming to your internet soon. Tonight, I have a longtime friend of mine, entrepreneur and photographer, Jason Tiesman from Rockford. So we're going to play a little infomercial that I made for us as a family, and then we'll be back with photographer, entrepreneur, awesome friend of mine, Herbert, aka Jason Tiesman. Talk to you soon. Hey you, yeah, you over there. Do you have an idea, a podcast idea, something that would go great on this show that somebody should know about, that you or somebody that you know could tell us about? Send us an email at catchinupwithcarter@gmail.com. That's Catchin with no G in the middle. catchinupwithcarter@gmail.com. We want to know your ideas and we want to talk about them. Toodaloo. Welcome back to the Catchin Up with Carter and Fam podcast show on YouTube right now, and it's going to be on more platforms coming soon to a internet source near you. Today I have another exciting guest. I've known him for a long time. I want to say it's about 10 or 12 years, but I have Jason Tiesman on the phone, who is a photographer and an entrepreneur and a few other things. Welcome, Jason. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Man, not much. I've been...
It's an honor to be asked to do this, first of all. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I've known you for a long time. I met you at the old sports page. I think as the first, I was with my guy Eric, and that's the first time I ever met you was at sports page in Rockford. But that goes way back. So yeah, now, and then you became. I met you again with one of my friends. Became a barber at one of your shops, and you owned at that time. I don't know if you still do, but you owned both of the off the top barber shops.
Correct. I still am in control of one of those. One of the barbershop locations in Rockford was closed down last year. It's just one of those things. It's like sink or swim, and I was sinking for a long time, and it just was time to let it go. I still have full ownership of the location that's on Broadway in Rockford, but that's not. I'm going to be selling soon, so I won't really have much holding me down in Rockford.
So where did you all start then? You were born and raised in Rockford, and I know that you used to work, I think, at Office Max or Office Depot, right, back in the day?
I kind of did a little bit of everything. I didn't work there, but I did do Best Buy. I worked at Foot Locker. I worked at Finish Line. I worked at MCI. I worked, some different places, but I worked at a lot of intriguing places that kind of kept me in contact with a lot of people. So I was always, socializing and networking and just always in the public's eye a lot,
So how did you end up getting into the barber business or buying buildings in general? What inspired you to do that?
Yeah, it's such a long story. I was working at the mall, and I was working at one of the, the little, the little phone booths or whatever in the mall.
Kiosk.
The kiosk. I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. I was looking for the word. Thanks. And, one of my regional managers came in one day with this huge check, man. And I was like, I did all the work, So slowly I tried to figure out how to open my own business. I had asked my boss to fire me so I could collect some unemployment and just kind of chase after my dream, man.
So how long did you started at Broadway, right? Is that where you first started, or did you start at Alpine?
I started on Broadway 19 years ago as a company called No Hassle Wireless. I love selling phones and, being involved with the public, that way, but I was just really bored in there all by myself. So my barber would come down there and cut my hair, and customers would come in while I was getting a haircut, and they're like, is this a barbershop too? And I was like, no, but, that's a good idea, So that's kind of like where the whole thing stemmed from, and, getting barber chairs in there and giving these young guys an opportunity to have like a platform to show off their craft was probably one of the most wonderful things I could have ever done, It's just... So, yeah, very, very privileged to be around a business like that.
Well, I have to say, I had a couple guys. Well, I got a haircut by Manny in there, and I've actually cut by, I think, B one time. But Marin was the one guy that cut my hair the most. But it was always like a weekly thing for me to go in there, and I'm like, man, I got to get my dose of barbershop. And there's one memory that sticks out to me. There's a lot of memories that stick out to me. Okay. But I come in, and Marin's cutting my hair. We're talking to Manny about sports, I think, probably. I don't know. I forgot what we're talking about. And all of a sudden, this gigantic blue dildo smacks your front glass door. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
This is real live, folks. A big dildo smacks this window. I don't know who in the barbershop was getting cut that got dildoed, but it was almost traumatizing for me. I still hear the smack.
Yeah, I mean, down on Broadway, you know, it's such a strange area. It's so diverse. Like, we've seen so much stuff, you know. Thankfully, you know, we never had really any issues, you know, like as far as violence or, you know, anything like that right where we were at. But, you know, we just seen a lot of crazy stuff, man, you know, with the stripper club across the street. And, you know, just it was a very unique 19 years, I can put it that way.
Yeah, what was the name of that place? What was that called across the way?
It was Paradise, and then after that it was
gosh,
I don't know, man. We're gonna have to get back to that. Maybe we can get. Too bad we weren't live right now. We can get some callers to chime in.
Yeah, I didn't. Maybe the what?
The
body shop. Yeah. There was a lot of bodies in there. That's for sure. Yep, I remember that. What an interesting thing. So now you're over in Chicago. How do you feel? What do you feel about Rockford? Like, what did you finally just kind of? Because for myself, I moved to Rochelle, and I think I'm super happy, like ridiculously, and I needed to break that barrier of so many people I knew and everything. Were you just kind of fed up then, or?
It wasn't about being really fed up. It was just like, and I don't want to get this out of context, but I feel like I've spent a lot of these years just making sure everyone else was in a good position and they were working and they were happy. And that's what you do as a business owner, and you have people that work there. But I've never treated anyone like an employee. I've always treated everyone like an entrepreneur. That's the difference. But, you know, the time for me was just, I had to go because I wasn't challenging myself anymore. I was sitting there waiting for something to happen that was never going to happen. So I got up and I left, man. I've only been in Chicago for a little over a month, but man, I feel good, man. I feel really good. I'm in a great relationship. I'm in a good space. I'm in a good part of the city. So it's nice.
Can I say her first name? Because I've never met her, but I saw her name on Facebook and I said it out loud, and I just think it's so fun just to say her name. Can you say it?
Do it.
Kinshasa.
Nope, Kinshasa.
Oh, Kinshasa? I'd love it. I'm not talking smack by any means, okay?
No, you did good.
I love it. I love it.
I'm in a great relationship, and she loves that I have, like, you know, a healthy hobby, and you know, it's just, I'm in a good place. I can tell you that much. I'm in a happy place.
And that's what I like to hear. How are you doing physically? Because I know the last time I spoke to you off Broadway, you had some surgery, I think, scheduled on your arm or something, and then you also had some eye injury too, right?
Yeah. Well, my arm is healed now, but yeah, my retina got detached last year. Unfortunately, I had a gas procedure where they laser out the eye, they put gas in there. It's supposed to last for like 2 months, but within a 4 to 5 week period, my retina detached again. So I ended up needing multiple surgeries plus 2 cataract surgeries, and at the end of that, my retinal nerve endings are just completely paralyzed now after all the surgeries. So my eye is fixed, but I don't have much vision out of it. It's very, very blurry now.
Man, that's sad. I remember you telling me.
It was, man. It was depressing, you know, but then I got to be thankful, you know, because I still have my vision. My heart still pumps really good, you know, like, and you run across people that have other issues and other eye issues that are worse, and it just kind of puts you in your place and humbles you, you know?
Absolutely. And you've always talked that way about just being thankful for whatever you've had. For the little things. I remember a couple of things you've done really humbling for other people, and we'll get there. How did you get into photography?
Man, it's weird, man. If like you didn't know me when I was young, but when I was younger, I worked at Best Buy and I was like this tech freak, man. I had TVs, camcorders. I had the first DVD player when it came out. I had a mini disc player. I had it all. But I always had a camera, man, and I was always taking pictures and taking video of all of us. Like, believe it or not, like what these kids are doing now, I was already doing. They're just making a living off of it, and I was doing it for free. So, yeah, I don't know. I love making memories, man, and the camera is no other way to do it, man, than to save it forever, you know?
So how old do you think you were when you really started taking it serious?
You mean as far as my, like the bird photography or just photography?
Photography in general, I guess when you really started.
Probably about 8 years now, I mean, I've taken it really serious.
How did you go from just beginning and then all of a sudden you're going to South America?
Okay, so I remember the day, man. I was, excuse me, I was on a whale watching tour in Seattle, and, you know, I was bored out of my mind. I'm not going to lie, like, whale watching is not really a lot of fun, you know, but being out on a boat and being out in nature is soothing. So that part I did like. But out in the water, like on this sandlet, right, like on this little low part of the water where this, you know, the sand was at, or I don't know what you call it. But anyway, there was a bald eagle just sitting there. And my camera just didn't do it any justice, man. I wanted to throw it in the water. But, you know, I could just see the bird, man. And I seen the picture that I wanted, but I just couldn't do it with the gear that I had. So, you know, after some upgrading, you know, multiple times and, you know, really getting into, you know, birding, yeah, it starts taking you places for sure.
Did you start birding in the United States first over here? Like,
I did. I started birding in the States first, and then I would go to different places. Like when I traveled to Belize for the first time, I wasn't much of a birder, man. Like, I just like bigger birds, you know, like a macaw or a toucan or something. I would get flip out about. But then I really started noticing the smaller birds that I always overlooked my whole life. And I was like, wow, they're interesting. They got beautiful details, beautiful colors. I was pulled in. I was just completely pulled in, man. I wanted to see all of them after that, you know?
so you say Belize was your first South American trip out of the country trip for you then?
That was my first Central America trip. My first South American trip was to Peru, but again, I took that trip and I wasn't even a birder really either. I was just, you know, seeing like Machu Picchu and, you know, the many like, you know, touristy attractions there. I really wasn't like a birder. I didn't go there for birding at that point, you know? It didn't hit me just yet.
So what trip was it what was your first trip for that then? What was your first birding trip?
It was probably being in Belize during my first times traveling there. I went there with my sister, I think in 2014, and then I kept on going back. And then, you know, of course, I would spend almost all my time outdoors there, you know, so I would always see new stuff, and I would always have my camera with me. But the trip that made me change everything and come home and invest, you know, almost not my life savings, but a good amount of money for all my camera gear was when I was in Guyana. So Guyana was the trip that changed like my whole dynamics of birding.
And I don't even think I found that folder or anything online because I was being a creep and stealing some photos so we could put in the slideshow as people are looking up and see right here all this amazing. Yeah, they're going to see a bunch of dope photos. You have so many. Of course, there's a whole bunch of some amazing birds, but you have a lot of other animals and a lot of sunsets and a lot of falling down things. And I mean, wreckage, I guess is the right term. And, I don't know. It's such an interesting thing, and I've always been inspired by you because I'd go in there and I'd always check up with you while waiting on to get a haircut, and I'd chit chat with you real quick, and like I'm just about to leave for Peru tomorrow, or I just came back from, you know, Panama or wherever the different places you've been, which I want to talk about.
I share that mostly because I want people to see these places, man. Like, there's no better feeling, man, than to share a connection with someone when it comes to traveling. Like, if I've been to Peru and you've been to the same place, and I'm like, man, did you see how beautiful that was? Like, some of these places, just made me so emotional, man. Like I cried, you know. I just let me tell you this, and I won't go too far back, but you know, my mom raised four of us. She was a single mom. We didn't have money to go places or go anywhere. We didn't even have a car for a long time. So traveling and seeing a lot of the places that I have is just humbling, man. Like, it's just, I never expected to see what I've seen in my lifetime already. It's just beautiful.
What countries have you been to? I have so many like questions, but what countries have you been to now? Altogether, what countries, and then what countries have you birded in?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because I've seen all of Central America besides El Salvador. I've seen a lot of the Caribbean. I've even been to Cuba twice, Trinidad. I've been to Puerto Rico a handful of times, Bahamas, Jamaica. I've seen a lot of Colombia. But see, here's the thing, and I've been to Europe, and, you know, but I keep on going back to the same places, my friend. Like, here's the thing, Jeff, it's weird, like, when I've been to Costa Rica, like, probably like 7 times, you know, I've been to Colombia 3 times, I've been to Ecuador 3 times, like, I keep on going back and back and back and back, man, because I make friends, and I almost want to see my friends more than anything, you know?
What was it like to first go to a trip like this for your birding? Like, what was the whole process to go there? As far as like how do you know what to do as far as language barriers, and then what do you have to get as far as like your passport? Because I think you told me you had to get a bunch of shots too, right?
Yeah, I mean, depending on where you go, I mean, certain places like Bolivia and stuff like that, you'll need like yellow fever shots, but most places you go, you won't need shots. Most times you'll need just your passport. You won't need a visa, depending on, you know, if you visit like Bolivia or Brazil or, you know, other places, you know, in Africa and stuff. But, you know, it's fascinating, the whole process, you know. It's, you know, most times I've built a lot of friendships and connections in these countries. They're not even like, at first they were just, you know, I was their boss, and they were pointing out birds to me, and now they're my friends, you know. But as far as like the language barrier, most of the people that you deal with there they'll almost always speak English, you know, like especially the tour guides. So it's not really hard to navigate, you know what I mean?
So when you go on these tours, when you go to these places in Central America and stuff, you go deep, right? Don't you get like into a Jeep and just go into the jungle, or what's it like?
Yeah, you do. And that's the coolest part, man, because, you know, for a long time when I first started birding, I wasn't embarrassed, but I just wasn't like, oh, hey, look at me, you know, here's me and my camera and I'm looking for birds, you know. It was like, it was different for me because no one I knew did this, and it didn't make sense to a lot of my friends. They thought I was weird, you know, and I get it. But little did they know that the places that it took me and the villages that it's taken me, like, you know, let's just say, for instance, like Nicaragua, I went into this crazy area just to find a couple of birds that were kind of like just, you know, in that area that are endemic to those areas. And I went into this village where they've never seen like a European looking man, and they were blown away by me, and I was blown away by them. But it's just instances like that just keep on, like, you know, sparking me and make me want to go to more and more places, you know.
Have you ever been in a situation, I guess, when you've been out on one of these journeys where you felt kind of not feared for your life, but were just wondering like, man, I don't think I'm going to make it back at all?
Yeah. Bolivia was a little tougher, man. Bolivia was a tough trip, but see, so I had some friends in Chile, named Juan and Roberto, and Juan and his wife and Roberto flew from Chile, and I flew here from the States, and I met them in Bolivia, and we rented a car and we drove around for the entire 2 weeks. But we did a road called Death Road. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called Death Road in Bolivia. Have you heard of it?
Maybe. There's a lot of death on Netflix.
Videos, it's not for the faint of heart, man. Like, just driving in your car, man, is enough to drive you crazy, man. You don't want to finish the trip, man. It was too much for me.
Can you explain a little bit without going too in detail?
The roads are so narrow that if a car is coming the other way, someone's got to back up. And you're not on a road, man. You're on the side of a mountain.
Oh man.
We got caught under like a waterfall one time, and we were like kind of stuck in it. And my friend was hitting the gas on the car, but we weren't moving, and the water was coming up through the floorboards, and I was freaking out. I look over at my friend that's driving; he was freaking out, and I was scared. And then I've been through places where you get somewhere in a town in Bolivia, and they had all the local people had the roads completely just blocked off. They weren't letting anyone through. People that were going through, they were throwing rocks at them. And yeah, I've been through some crazy places, man. Like in some times where I'm like, man, am I gonna get home?
Man, that's crazy. What do you feel though?
Talk about it,
Yeah, but I know when I've talked to you before, it's just like when you first get back or when you're about to leave, it seems like part of Jason is on the trip. You know what I mean? Like always, I feel that your heart really is in travel and photography, but it's also really humble. And for those that know Jason, were nodding their head right now because you're a very humble person. I remember when I was running Beano's for a little while, there was a time that one of your really close friends, I don't know if it was Ray, I want to say it might have been, but one of them got into I don't know if it was a mudslide, but something happened to his truck, and you were doing everything possible to raise money for that man, and I think you put in quite a bit from your own pocket.
Yeah. Well, make a long story short, I was helping this guy in Belize. Not many people know about this because this isn't something that I just, posted or bragged about. Because I wanted to do something because when you get in a situation like that and you have a little bit more to offer and you see these people that are struggling, you just want to give. And at that time, I was doing really well in life and I could help, So I had bought this man a car. And he totaled the car somehow. I don't know how. I didn't really ask a whole lot of questions, which I should have, you know what I mean? But at the time, I was just more worried about his health. So after he had crashed his car, I put together a little GoFundMe, and I got some funds from some people, and I took some more of my money, and I went back and, I bought him another vehicle so he could stay on the road and stay working. But that was just a small part, and I didn't mind doing that. I wouldn't be able to do that in the position that I'm in right now. And that's why I stay so humble, because one minute you can be on top of the world, and then the next minute you can just completely drop down to nothing. It doesn't take long.
Absolutely. Amen on that. So
yeah, helping people is easy, man. If you got a big heart, it's not hard to help, it's really easy.
What was it like, I guess, when you're on that plane home to Rockford and you get back to Rockford, your first day back at that time in Broadway or off Alpine? Was it hard for you to be like, if you just saw how these people live in the country I was just at and see what they're thankful for, were you ever just like, do you guys got some money to come on a trip with me? You guys need a rude awakening, you know what I mean?
I took some of the guys with me. Brandon went with me to Puerto Rico. He went to Belize. I took a few of the guys with me wherever I could. I always had an open invitation for anybody. The hardest thing was trying to get people to get a passport. It's like, hey, get your passport, man. Having a passport is insane, because once you have that piece of paper in your hand, or that booklet, it's limitless, man. You can go wherever you want to go. I don't think they understood that importance of having that, because not many other people have it that easy to be able to travel the world,
Absolutely. No, I get that.
Yeah, because my Belizean friends can't get on a flight and come to the United States. They need a visa. They need to go through all of these measurements, man, to even get here. And then they do all that and they still get denied and they can't come here. And it's like, we have a lot of privileges here, and traveling is one of them. And if you don't make an effort to go and see some of these places, I mean, that's okay. Some people can't, but if you can, it's just so well worth it.
Which country do you think is the poorest or most slum or just that changed you the most that going through it? Which one was a place?
An area of Bolivia really was rough. I don't know the exact name, but when I was with my friends, we weren't with a guide. So I'll remind you again, there was no professional with us. We didn't know where to make stops, to see wildlife and stuff. We all just kind of were like, okay, if we see somewhere we want to stop, we just stop. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Right.
One day we stopped in this little village. We get out. I have pictures and everything too. I'll share them with you later. But we went into this village, and I got out. My friends had got out. We had all our camera gear and stuff. And dude, it was crazy. Like everyone was looking at us, trying to figure out what we were doing. And then some lady's yelling at us to come because she's got a monkey in her backyard in a tree. But when we went into her home, she had no flooring, right? It was just mud. And I mean, not hard mud, but like soft mud from the river. You know what I mean? So for me to see someone to live like that, and then, to find out like how much money goes through there a year, maybe these people made about $100 a year. Like, yeah, I left that place in tears, man.
Wow.
I hugged all them kids, and I didn't want to let them go, man. It was hard. So that was probably the most poverty-stricken place I've been, where I wanted to take all those people with me, man.
So when you go on these trips, do you have like a game plan? Or you just kind of, when I get there, I'm just gonna roll with the punches and eat what I eat when I eat and go where I go when I go, or how does it work?
Yeah, there's some type of itinerary, but I don't really roll by that. I just go with the flow because, as a birder, like, you could be, for instance, like, I was in Costa Rica in January, right? We're making our trip. We have an itinerary. We have like a plan, right? Where we're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're keeping your eye on stuff and there's a bird that just showed up somewhere halfway across, that country, you're going to completely stop all your plans and go and try to photograph that bird. And that's kind of exactly what happened. So, I mean, if there's bad weather somewhere, you move, or if there's a highlight of your trip that you want to photograph, you move. I just kind of roll with the punches, man.
What do you have on your bucket list for your next, like, what do you have that before I die, I want to go bird here?
So much, man. Southeast Asia, Africa, India, Australia. Like, I haven't even stepped foot in these places, man. And yeah, any of them would be a dream. Everything there would be new. I would be like a kid in the candy store, man. But, I need some careful planning to get to that other side of the world, It's a little bit harder when you're planning to go over there, You need more time, need more resources, so.
What camera, I'm all over the place. What camera would you suggest for a beginner birder? Because you're an advanced, I would say. What would be a good camera for people to start out with that want to take? Because I know that most people's iPhones and Galaxies are pretty damn good these days. But if you were to say a camera, what would you recommend for somebody to invest in?
I mean, you can, any new birder can use like any DSLR, or, you can go mirrorless. I haven't gone mirrorless yet, but it is really nice because, you don't have all that extra sound from your shutter, scaring stuff away, But the most important thing is your lens, man. If you're going to be birding, you're going to at least want a 500 millimeter lens or bigger, to be honest. Unless you're at a feeder where there's feeders or hummingbirds. But if you're shooting in the wild all the time, you need a pretty nice focal length on your lens.
And how many cameras do you have? Like when you go on a trip like that, I see this massive bazooka looking one that you normally have in a lot of these pictures. But do you bring like several other ones or backup? Because I'm guessing you probably have had accidents, right?
I do. But that's my RPG though. But Yeah, but that's normally the only lens that I will use. I have another lens that's like a professional lens to like do like landscape or like headshots or something, but I don't really take that out much when I'm birding. It's not essential, you know. I use a 600 millimeter when I shoot.
You said 600 millimeter?
Yep.
That's what that gigantic thing is?
Yes, yes. I call that my baby.
What does that weigh?
It causes a lot of attention, man. People tend to like look at me funny when they see it. They stop and they're like, "Man, that's big," you know. And it's like it's a whole conversation, man. Just my camera, to be honest.
What's it weigh?
I think all together with the tripod, my camera, and everything, probably close to 30 pounds with everything.
Oh, that's not too bad. It looks like 60
It's not
pounds.
bad.
It looks heavy.
No, it feels like 50 pounds after you're walking up like the Andean mountains, for like 15 days. It gets heavy, but it's I'm used to it. Let's just put it that way. I keep on changing shoulders and I kind of move it around a little. I try to get myself comfortable, but it can be a lot of work.
If you were to suggest to a Rockfordian or in the area of Ogle, Winnebago, Boone County, what are some places you would like, if you're beginning out, starting out, you should go check out this place?
Yeah, I really like Severus and Dells. That's a good place, like especially for migratory birds. A lot of owls out there. Rock Cut, anywhere, man. You can go to just a small area, man, just as long as there's woods and you got a good set of binos or, anything or a camera. I mean, you can find stuff anywhere, to be honest with you. So, yeah, there's a lot of places in Rockford. Rockford's actually, like, it is a forest city, man. There's a lot of forest there. There's a lot of places to go and hike and get outdoors and clear your head,
Absolutely. I can't get enough. There's quite a few places I've gone that I'm like, man, I gotta tell Jason about, because I went and I told you we went on a whim because my family was always gone to Monaco, Wisconsin to go fishing.
Yeah.
And there was this bog that I stayed on, and I didn't know what to expect, but we woke up and all the windows were open and all you heard was like thousands of birds, and it was really, really, really relaxing. Me and her, my fiance, woke up before everybody else, thank God, and we had some coffee and we sat there and smoked, and it was just so relaxing. I was like, dude, Jason's got to come here.
Yeah, that's serenity at its finest,
No electronics were working. It was perfect. None. Yeah.
Because we all need that. I mean, I think every human being needs the outdoors here and there. It's what it's there for. It's therapeutic.
And there's so many different opportunities, because I've seen different trips that people will take you on on boats or in plane, or you know what I mean, like in Canada. There's like so many cool things you could do if you love taking photos.
Yeah. It really does. It really takes you everywhere. There's a community of people that are backed up behind it that you meet. Like, man, I've met some of the greatest people, man. I mean, just on Instagram alone, like I've met hundreds of people. One being my good friends from Chile. I had this guy message me years ago, right? And he was in my inbox. He was like, "Oh, I love birds and I love your page." And I was like, at first I was like, "Man, who's this weirdo?" But then, just because I'm not used to having people inbox me about stuff, But then I thought about it. I'm like, man, this man just loves birds like me, So we became friends. And one day I was like, hey, it's May. I was like, are the birds good in Chile this time of year? And he was like, well, it's our winter down here. But he was like, you can still come. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, we'd love to have you. Man, I've been to Chile twice and been with these guys in Bolivia, in Belize. They've visited the States. Like, man, I've gotten best friends out of the deal, man,
That's so sick.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Very cool.
What are some things you have coming up? I mean, do you have a trip planned at all this year?
Yeah. So I am going to Jamaica. I'm going to Jamaica in May. But the great thing about Jamaica is I'm actually the best. I'm one of the groomsmen at my friend's wedding. But I am actually flying there a week before everyone gets there, so I can get the endemic birds that are on that island.
Yeah.
I'm going with two friends. Actually, possibly three other friends. I'm going with a friend from Texas, another friend here in Chicago, and my friend in Belize actually might join us. So, and then I already have a friend that's in Jamaica, so he's going to take us around.
That's so sick. I love it.
Yeah, thanks. And then I'm doing Ecuador for sure, in August. And then the rest of my planning, I'm not sure. Panama I might do in March, but then again, I've already been there, so I want to see something new for sure, you know?
So, who do you feel has been your inspiration in your life? Who's been your number one fan, your number one supporter?
Well, all my life, if it's been all my life, my mom's been my number one supporter.
Yeah, dope.
You know, I never knew my father. My mom raised four of us, and she always got us involved in stuff, you know, like as best as she could, which is incredible. But I think one thing that really kind of put me in the position where I'm at now is we did a lot of stuff outdoors, like, because that's what you do. If you don't have any money, you go outdoors too, you know. So we went camping, we went fishing, you know, we went hiking, you know, we did the inexpensive stuff, but it instilled something in me, you know, like that stays with me, and it's stayed with me my whole life.
I agree completely. My still to this day, I show stuff to my fiance's kids and my kids or whatever. Oh, they're all my kids to me, but you know what I mean. I take them to places that my dad and mom had taken me. That were, you know, money was tight, but they had enough gas. So we went to like Matheson Park down in Utica, or we went to dude, a lot of places in Rockford. Yeah, it is. It really is. I think that park is most underrated compared to Starved Rock. I mean, the place is just a block down the way.
Almost too many people there.
Yeah, and it's not. I don't think it's. I don't know. Matheson to me is you park in that parking lot and you walk down steps and bam, you're in this cool. I mean, I don't even know what you call it, with cavern and caves and it's so neat. Waterfall is such a neat place, and it's only not far from Rockford. For us, it's like 40 minutes, I think, or 30 minutes or something.
Yeah,
But
it's not bad. It's definitely worth the drive, man. It's worth the drive to go really anywhere, man. You know, just like I said, even if you just want to, like, days I want to clear my head. I mean, during the whole pandemic, man, like I went out almost every day, man. I was staying in Chicago during that time too, because you know we were completely closed down in Rockford. But man, I would leave and I would go find some park to go to. You know, that's all I did. You know, so it kept me grounded, man, for sure. Staying outdoors.
I was gonna ask you about the pandemic because were you anywhere when that first happened, and did you get shut down flight at all or no?
No. I was in the States. I knew it was coming, man. I was watching, man. I was watching everything, and I questioned the whole thing. And you know, I would always talk to B too. You know, Brad at me, and I'm like, Brad, I was like, do you see this, man? He was like, no, man, the numbers ain't there, man. We're not closing down. And that was like in February, you know, and then by March, I'm like, man, dude, we got to close down. He was like, yep. And I was like, I told you. I didn't mean to say it like that, but it was just like, I already knew it was going to happen. So I stayed still, you know, but the minute I could go somewhere, we did. But me and my girlfriend, we were supposed to go to Ireland during that time in May at the end for my birthday. But instead, since we couldn't go, we just packed up the car, we took our dog, and we drove to Texas, man.
That's dope, though. I mean, yeah, road trip, I bet it was.
Oh, it was an incredible road trip. We had a blast.
Well, I want to touch on one more thing about you that I said this because I remember, I mean, we were never like super close, but I always had to talk to you because you're always so interesting at stuff.
No, I feel we weren't very close, but we have this respect for each other.
Yeah.
I'm always happy that you spoke, you know.
Good. I'm glad. I'll have memories forever. And but yeah. One time I remember you telling me, I said something to you before I started hitting record. You didn't know about a sister, right? And then you ended up meeting her. Yeah. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So, okay, I was on this quest, and I'm not a bitter person. You know what I mean? I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, my dad was never around, so I did this or I did that. You know, I just do what I had to do, and if I made mistakes, I just owned up to them. You know what I mean? It was never his fault because he wasn't in my life. You know what I mean? But I did want to meet him. I did want to know him. And maybe I didn't want to know him, but maybe I just wanted to ask him a couple of questions. You know what I mean? Like, hey, did you ever think about us or anything like that? So I actually had found my father's, he had a Facebook page. So I showed my mom and I was like, Mom, is this our dad? And she was like, yeah, that's him, you know? And, man, it took me like, I don't know, maybe like 3 years, man, to come up with the guts to like send this man a message. So I sent him a message, man. I never got no response. So I just kept digging, man. I found, you know, a woman's name that had the same last name, lived in the same area of Florida. I was like, wow, this has to be, you know, this has to tie to something, you know? So I messaged her and I explained to her what was going on. I said, you know, hey, I think Don's my dad, you know, and oh, it was crazy, dude. It was emotional time, you know, for both of us. And yeah, I have a whole family out there, man, that never even knew I existed, me or my brother.
So now are you close with them now or talk with them now?
Yeah, so she's came to Illinois twice now. I have an aunt friend that came from South Carolina. I haven't met everyone yet, but man, what a whirlwind of emotions, man, because it was just like, I never got to meet my dad because, well, I had found out that he had passed away just probably about maybe a year before I had sent that message. So that's why I never got to him.
No shit. I did not know that.
Yep. Yeah, he had cancer, but you know, he didn't want to stop smoking. He had lung cancer. And so if you're a smoker and you're listening, no, I'm just kidding.
No, absolutely, man.
I just know he had a painful death. I just know he was in a lot of pain and he was ready. He was ready to go. So
yeah,
I got a beautiful family out the deal now. Like,
right.
A brother, a sister I talk to all the time, and yeah, it's very nice.
So what is your advice, I guess, to young people out there in the struggle or having a hard time? What are some words of wisdom? And then we're going to wrap it up.
Okay. It can be hard out there. I'm dealing with it now. I'm literally starting my life from scratch all over again, you know. But, you know, my problem, Jeff, is that I haven't taken any risk on myself in a long time. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid to do. They're afraid to step out on faith. They're afraid to do anything. They get so comfortable. I was comfortable. I sat in a chair all day long waiting for people to come in, man. But that's not what I wanted for myself, man. I want a lot more for myself. So if you're a dreamer, you take that and you make something from it, you know?
Yeah,
I gotta do the same, man. You know, I have to learn to talk to myself better too as a human. I keep on saying, oh, I might be able to do this, or you know, I don't ever own it as enough as I should, you know? Like, oh, I got this, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do this tomorrow. Or, you know, like, I've been procrastinating a lot, man. And I take responsibility for that, man, but I'm going to start changing that.
I can say the same 110%. I got to get on my stuff, too. I agree. A lot of people do. You got to keep it moving, to keep alive and stay afloat. You have to keep rolling with the times.
But look at you, man. You're doing your little radio thing now. You're talking to people. Like,
yeah,
that's what you love doing.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to be doing photography full time, man. I want to do a book. Like, I want to share my images. Like, there's so much I want to do, man. But I try to grind so hard to try to make ends meet that I just keep on forgetting about myself, man, and what I really, really want to do. But I'm going to start doing it, man. I'm going to take the time out, and I'm going to really start doing what makes me happy, man. That's being behind my camera.
I love that. So that leads to my ending questions. How do people, they're going to be seeing the whole interview here, which is almost an hour now. They're going to see pictures of well, you'll see, just look up. Anyway, but you are on Instagram and on Facebook. And do you still manage that one big account on Instagram too, or no?
Yeah, I do. It's not. I mean, the platform on Instagram doesn't really do me any good. I use it just to build relationships because it just doesn't give me the exposure, especially for all the followers I have and stuff like that. It just, I don't know. So I've had some issues with that, but I would like more people to see my work, and they can, if they see it, they can follow me at Jason_Tiesman, TIESMAN_ bird photography.
All right, there you have it. Thank you so much for your time, my guy. I appreciate it.
Man. I had a blast, man. I mean, this is fun.
Yeah. I definitely wanted, love to do a trip with you. I bought a camera, nothing major. We'll talk about it later. But I would love to do something over here in Wisconsin or something nearby, or even out there near Chicago. I'm not far from you now.
I would love to help you out, man. I mean,
yeah.
It would be fun. I mean, I'd like to show you a little bit of my world. Maybe we can find some cool stuff. Maybe we can find some owls. You just never know. When you go out there, and I know a lot of people don't look for stuff, but when you start looking for stuff, you can find it, man. It's out there.
Absolutely. Again, this was Jason Tiesman, photographer, entrepreneur, and also at one time he was Herbert, an old man that looks like the guy from Jackass. You'll see some pictures. You'll be like, oh, that's the old guy in those pictures coming across? That was Herbert. You retired him though, huh?
Yeah, I did. He passed away, unfortunately. But I tell you what, man, those were probably the best years of my life, pretending I was some old man.
All right, Jason Tiesman, photographer. Please follow him. I'm going to be posting pictures. Thank you so much, bro.
You bet. You're welcome, man. Take care.
And that was Jason Tiesman, everybody, photographer from Rockford, but now living in Chicago. He goes all over the world. Amazing photos. Follow him on Instagram as well as on Facebook. Please do the same thing for us. Share, like, subscribe, all those great things. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook, of course. And if you have any podcast ideas that you want to tell me about, the world should know about, email me at catchinupwithcarter@gmail.com. Same thing if you have a rental property, we do review videos, and we'll do one of yours if you have a property people should know about. So email catchinupwithcarter@gmail.com. Please take care. Number 18 was amazing. Again, follow Jason Tiesman. Please take care and stay safe.
Thank you for spending an hour of your time with us. Now will you do yourself a favor? Check us out on Catching Up with Carter and Fam Show. Do yourself another favor and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Insta. Our dog's also up there, so you'll be doing yourself a third favor. And we'll see you next week. Toodles.